A key component of the modern world economy, the chemical industry delivers products and innovations to enhance everyday life. It is also an industry in transformation, where chemical executives and workers are delivering growth and industry-changing advancements while responding to pressures from investors, regulators, and public opinion. Discover how leading companies are approaching these challenges here on The Chemical Show. Join Victoria Meyer, president of Progressio Global and host of The Chemical Show, as she speaks with executives across the industry and learns how they are leading their companies to grow, transform, and push industry boundaries on all frontiers. Here's your host, Victoria Meyer.
Hi, this is Victoria Meyer. Welcome to The Chemical Show. This week, I am speaking with John Yagel, who is the VP of Continuous Improvement, Capital, and Innovation Excellence for Huber Engineered Materials. John has 30 plus years of experience in the chemical and materials industries at leading companies including Dow and Grace, and is an expert in manufacturing and operational excellence. So John is bringing that expertise and experience to our conversation today on the podcast. John, welcome to The Chemical Show.
Thank you very much. Great to be here. Good morning.
Yeah, glad to have you here. So what's your origin story? What got you into the world of chemicals and what brought you to where you are today in your career?
Sure, absolutely. Well, I guess I would say it started because I love a challenge, and I was close to some of my teachers in school and learned a lot about chemistry. And I wanted to take on a challenge. So one thing led to another, and pretty soon I was at Penn State in chemical engineering. And of course, that led me into the industry. And I've had a lot of great employers over the years for various, and a good portion of my career was with Dow Chemical and starting out. And Dow, I still look back at Dow. It's a fabulous company from a manufacturing and operations perspective. Great place to grow up and learn about how to do it right.
Yeah, awesome. That's really cool. And today you're at Huber Engineered Materials. Can you just,
That's right.
I think some people may not be fully familiar with them. Can you give a brief overview
absolutely.
of the company?
Yep, exactly. Huber under the corporation of J.M. Huber, and we have several different business segments. I'm in the business segment called Huber Engineered Materials, and we have several different businesses and several different product lines that provide products for all different areas. To name a couple of them, we have an area called fire retardant additives. And so that is a non-halogenated material that is used in industry to prevent fires and smoldering and things like that. So you would find it in the insulation of wires, especially in your car, as well as some building materials, carpeting, and things like that. And so it's a great material for preventing fire and also for heat management and trying to dissipate the heat very well.
Interesting.
And then another area that is one of our businesses is called specialty minerals. And in specialty minerals, we have a whole series of products, which is ground calcium carbonate. It goes into many products out there in the market, largely building materials for your home, for flooring and walls and in different areas like that. But also we have some very high quality and very high purity areas that go into nutritional needs like supplements, nutritional supplements, vitamins, and that whole area.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. Recently, we purchased a company called Natural Soda, and it's in the specialty minerals business. And Natural Soda is a company that mines sodium bicarbonate, which is baking soda. And so most all the baking soda that we know of is synthetically made. And we purchased a company that has a mine actually in Colorado, and they use solution mining, dissolve it and bring it back up to the surface and then reprecipitate it into a product. And it goes in all kinds of markets, like for animal feed and nutrition and various other forms for a natural occurring baking soda.
Yeah, that's interesting. So why would you mine the baking soda, the carbonate, versus synthetically produce it? There must be pros and cons to this.
It doesn't exist very often in a natural state. It is probably the biggest reason. And since it is in a natural state, it's a very good material for feed and things like that.
Okay. Huh. That's interesting. I wouldn't have thought that. I guess that, it's one of those common products that probably many of us don't know about.
That's exactly right. And then the third area is agro solutions. And this is actually a more recent, a new business area for us. And we've made a couple of purchases in the last several years. And this is where we're making chemical fertilizers and various additives for the growers and farmers to put in their spray systems for plants. And, we target a lot of different products of farm items that are in the fruits, nuts, vegetables area.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's interesting. It prompts a follow-up question that I'm going to come to later. I hope I remember it. John, do you guys operate globally, or is it primarily a North American business?
We do operate globally. We have a good size footprint in North America, as well as Germany, Austria, and now with some of our new acquisitions in Italy and Hungary and various other countries.
Cool. Very cool. So you've had a long career in manufacturing and in operational excellence, and I know that's operational excellence is a passion and a focus area for you. Can you tell us more about what that is?
Sure.
How did you get there?
Yeah, exactly. And, operational excellence is, in a simple form, systematic problem solving and improvements. And, of course, all manufacturing wants to constantly get better and remove defects and have their operations be trouble-free. And operational excellence is a way to bring together several different functions like problem solving and reliability and quality and safety and all these different areas. And it probably goes back a lot to some of the disciplines that we've all learned and heard about, like Six Sigma and lean manufacturing and things like that. So that's a huge piece of operational excellence. But there are other areas in there too, like, various technologies for reliability and even transportation systems and logistics and everything like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. So operational excellence would be the umbrella that covers some of the Six Sigma, the lean, the process management, et cetera. Yeah. That's cool. I've earlier in my career, I've gone through that space a couple of different times. In fact, running operational excellence, but much more for supply chain and the customer centers, the business operations side of operational excellence. So I think there's I can see the value, right? At the end of the day, I think most chemical companies actually are operationally excellent. Now, that doesn't mean that they're perfect, obviously, but I think there's this inherent tendency, and maybe it's the engineers and all of us that drive towards operational excellence, but also it's really about safety and efficiency and cost effectiveness and just business process effectiveness.
That's exactly right. And there's also close ties to a world that is called process safety management and making sure that all of our chemical factories and production plants, refineries and everything are operating in a way that, they're not going to catch on fire and have injuries of very large.
Yeah. Interesting. So you've been doing this a long time. How has it changed, right? So if you think about operational excellence earlier in your career versus where we are today, what's different?
Yeah, there are a couple areas that are quite different. The base activity is the same. Basically, problem solving and driving perfection and excellence into everything you do. That part is obviously the same. But I would also say that in the beginning, in my beginning of my career, it was then a nice way to have a competitive advantage. And it was a way that you can get out in front of your competitors, reduce your costs, provide more product at a better value. And today it's more closer to a table stake. It's something that it exists in a lot of different areas and has made tremendous, benefit and driven value throughout the industry. So I would say that's one change that it has become more of a regularly occurring scenario for companies to have that. That doesn't mean everyone has it now. There are still companies in production plants that still need to kind of get on the activities of operational excellence. Another area that I would say has made huge differences and has grown over the years is digitization. And in the beginning, even 20, 30 years ago, having all this data and information was difficult. It was very difficult to pull all the information and data. And that's the nature of problem solving, is to have the right data that you can understand what exactly is happening so you can analyze it very well. And over time, through all different ways, the world of process control and data collection and AI and being able to take massive amounts of data and analyze it and put it through various algorithms to come up with an answer has really changed it quite a bit. And we're using some of that right now with digitization and trying to understand from reliability to various other areas.
Yeah. When you think about that whole digitization and that data and operational excellence, do you also bring like process control into that? Or do you think about it as being outside the reactor as opposed to inside the reactor?
No, absolutely inside, without any doubt.
Okay.
And there are a couple different terms for what you just mentioned, process control or industrial control systems, whatever it is, it's basically the computer that runs your process. And of course, the computer can watch it, at a rate that is much greater than a human can and what we can pick up different abnormalities and things like that very well. So advanced process control and using that to optimize your process is absolutely under the umbrella of operational excellence.
I personally would not have put it under that same umbrella. So that's good to understand that you do.
Well, and also the products have become phenomenal. Back in the early days when I worked for Dow, we actually produced our own process control computers, and because there wasn't anything on the market that satisfied our needs. And today, that's probably not true in today's world. Whether it's from ABB or Siemens or Rockwell or other, they're all offering just fabulous products that can run your chemical process.
Huh. So I know when we were talking earlier too, you one of the things you shared with me is that operational excellence has gone from process industries like the chemical industry elsewhere. And that's something that you've also seen through your career. Can you give us some examples of that?
It's grown within the business, and what you mentioned earlier about customer service and areas like that. So it has expanded from the manufacturing space into other spaces like supply chain and customer care and everything around that. So it's there, but it's also moved into other industries. And two of them that I'll mention that as consumers we would know and understand on a daily basis is the hotel industry uses operational excellence. And you would, how would they possibly use it? But their interest in having your stay at their hotel and have it be a perfect stay without any flaws, no defects, and everything went just right is a huge piece of their operational excellence. And that's a very hard thing to do, to stay somewhere and there wasn't anything that went wrong. Everything in your room is working perfectly. You feel comfortable and satisfied with the product that you're receiving there. And they strive to hit that type of operational excellence so that your customer experience is as perfect as it can be. And then another area that we see actually more so on a daily basis, a company that I admire and have some interface with some of their people is Chick-fil-A. And we see this on a daily basis, at 12 noon, and the line at Chick-fil-A is wrapped around the restaurant, and the way that they process orders and manage the traffic flow and make sure that people move through the line and go through at a pace that far beats all the other fast food restaurants. They just do an amazing job with order fulfillment and how they deliver the product to the customer in a way that is fast, is nice quality. Everyone has a good experience there. So they're a great example of using operational excellence in a normal day-to-day operation.
And that's really about, when I think about it, as you give these examples, John, it's really about systems, it's processes,
Yes.
It's using the data to maybe be both predictive as well as responsive.
That's exactly right.
Et cetera. And is that one of the differences? And when you think about operational excellence, has it just kind of evolved from, I guess, the predictive aspect of it, right?
Yes.
I think to me has probably what's been evolved significantly, especially with digitization, right?
Absolutely. Predictive and preventative activities have always existed within the world of maintenance and reliability. And now they're expanding into new areas like in a chemical reaction and being able to predict the quality of your product just by watching the original reaction of the polymer or whatever it may be in the reactor. So it has evolved quite a bit. And originally, I think coming largely from the world of reliability and being able to predict, vibration or any other type of movement in rotating equipment to now we're using AI to make predictions on product quality, on delivery.
We'll be right back. At Ecovist, they're accelerating the transition to a sustainability-driven future. Their long history of innovation, expertise, and customer collaboration supports the development of proprietary catalysts and services across their two industry-leading businesses, Advanced Materials and Catalysts and Eco Services. Advanced Materials and Catalysts is a leader in proprietary and customized technologies for polymers, cleaner fuels, emissions control, and circularity. Ecoservices is the largest North American recycler of spent sulfuric acid. Ecovist, your catalyst for positive change.
Service and everything around that.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, John, one of the things I talk a lot about on the show is customer experience, right? So I think really the key differentiator for most companies is actually their customer experience, right? So product is easily replicated, services and tactics are easily replicated, but it's the experience that you bring. And the experience, what gets wrapped into it as well is quality. In this expectation of quality, reliability of supply, and the expectation and even just the information, right? The ability to provide that information and adapt. And so I think that's based on this conversation. I would not have necessarily tied operational excellence in with experience. Yes. And yet it's a key component.
It's a key component
for the holistic company.
That's exactly right. And the customer experience is a lot of things. It's anything from how to pay their bills to how they receive product, how they order product, how well is the supplier looking out for them and kind of has their back and is trying to make sure that they don't have anything to worry about when you're buying product from us. So that ability to gain their trust, their loyalty based on operational excellence and always being able to supply their product is golden.
Awesome. That's really cool. So, John, the events of the past 3 years, I mean, I think as we entered the decade of the 2020s, it's been unexpected, right? Versus what anyone would have predicted between the COVID-19 pandemic. We've had freezes and hurricanes. We've had other significant supply chain disruptions, global political issues, and I think about
turmoil,
war and other things, right? So all of which have really dramatically impacted the chemical industry in one way, shape, or form. What do you see as Huber's response, or even just as an industry's response to that, to these issues and these situations?
Sure, absolutely. And some of these issues that you mentioned, we've always, battled them as they come up. Things like the big freeze of 1 or 2 years ago and hurricanes and outages. We do some of our business along the Mississippi River, so we carefully watch the level of the Mississippi River. And there have been times when the water's too high and you can't, use it as a waterway. And so we come up with all kinds of creative solutions to move our product or move our raw materials from point A to point B in a new way other than using the Mississippi. So that part has kind of always existed. Certainly, COVID threw a curveball at us all and changed life completely. And the one thing I would say about COVID is, and Huber handled COVID in a very responsible way with great trust and respect for all of our teammates, making sure that everyone was working well at work and had everything, all the right equipment to do the job that they needed to do. So really a fantastic response throughout that. And many people highly engaged in making sure that everyone was safe and healthy and we were operating as best we can. One of the things that COVID taught us, though, is that, remember, many people did start working from their home office and learn how to use Zoom and everything. But at the factory, at the production plants, they did not. They went to work every single day. So, the use of mask and separation, between people and things like that, and all of that still continued on a day-to-day basis. And even what we normally have in the production plant, our normal daily resource meeting to plan for the day and make sure that all of our priorities are understood, first thing in the morning, even sessions like that, we continued all throughout the COVID time, even if we were doing it by Zoom, and Zoom, just from the offices and areas like that, but we continued our operations without any disruption or anything like that. But I think that the piece that COVID taught us is how to use video conferencing. Here we are on Zoom and Teams and other things like that. And prior to COVID, we were a bit timid to do this kind of activity, and it was clunky. The tools were not that great, and we were kind of forced into it. And luckily the market reacted and provided products that do a great job in bringing people closer together through the electronic methods. And so now that we're post-COVID, we certainly are traveling now. There's no doubt, and most of the industry is getting out to see their customer and suppliers and things like that. But we're using Zoom and Teams, significantly more than ever before, in making sure that we can connect without necessarily traveling to the other side of the world.
Yeah, that has been a significant impact. And in fact, as I've talked with clients and companies that I meet with, the whole issue, so one, virtual working has been great for a big part of the industry. Not everybody, right? As you say,
not everyone, right?
Our frontline workers, our manufacturing staff and logistics and supply chain staff, they've been boots on the ground, right? To make things happen. But I think it's also shifted, this whole hurdle to get people back in the office, even just the hurdle to have a customer and supplier meetings. Like I've had people.
That's right. Yeah.
Are people actually meeting? I'm like, yeah, but a lot less than they used to, right?
It's a lot less.
Maybe it's still the same number of engagements on a net basis, but the actual in-person stuff has really diminished. Did operational excellence change? Did your approach to operational excellence change as a result of these disruptions of the pandemic and of other things? Are you doing things differently today and in 2023 is when this is going to be getting published versus in 2020?
I would say we learned a lot during that time period, and during the COVID time when we were largely in a virtual state, we tried to do various types of training and meetings and things like that, and it was effective, but not nearly as much as in person. So now that we feel like we're on the other side of COVID, we're back into scheduling various trainings that are face to face and doing activities like that, whether it's group sessions, bringing teams together, or whatever it may be, but we're fairly open with the concept of bringing people back together and meeting there. I don't think anything can replace this face-to-face interaction and being able to have a good conversation and challenge each other and debate each other, and being able to do it in person. You can't beat that with Zoom.
Yeah, I agree. I had a really good working session with the group earlier this week in person, and we even commented, it's like, so glad that we got together in person.
Yes.
But because it actually, in some ways, was faster. The work that we were doing needed to be in-person work.
That's right.
We were far more resilient as an in-person team versus on a Zoom call or on a phone call or what have you. So I think that's a big thing, right? And
it might have actually caused us. I had this conversation last week with a few colleagues that the virtual world of Zoom and other things like that may actually cause us to move more rapidly, because in our former world, we would always try to get together. So we would travel to get together, and we would have some meeting and we would say, well, we need to get together. How about the first week of January? Well, half of us aren't available. So how about the second week of January? And on and on and on. And it pushed out, a meeting would push out 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks because of the availability of people. And now being able to get together on Zoom, it's more of a conversation of, well, how about tomorrow? Or how about this afternoon to do the same thing? So it even if the quality is not quite the same as face-to-face, the speed at which we're doing things has really changed.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there's two sides to that coin, right? Because, what I hear from some folks as well is they're like, it's almost too busy. Everybody wants to book a Zoom meeting, when in the past, you might have bumped into them in the hallway, or you might have just said, hey, I need 5 minutes. Okay, I'm giving you 5 minutes. But, our inherent time block when we book things is like a 30-minute meeting. I'm like, I need 5 minutes. Can I just get 5 minutes?
Yes.
And so I think there's the two sides of it, making us either busier or making us faster. Maybe both. So John, Huber is a privately held family-owned company, which is very different from some of the other companies that you've worked with.
Yes.
What do you see as the difference, and how does it change your approach to people, to operational excellence? What stands out about just the difference of being in a privately held company? Yeah.
It's, it's a wonderful family company, and the Huber family has a deep sense of responsibility and really being a positive force on the world. And that comes through in the products that we make, and being able to make life better, basically, in many different ways, to very charitable and working very hard to provide, whether it's Habitat for Humanity or all other, aspects like that. But I would also say we have a huge respect and appreciation for each other, for our teammates, and at all levels of the organization, throughout the organization, in all functions, and a huge sense of respect and appreciation for each other. And although it's a very large company, and over 4,000 total in my area of Huber Engineering Materials, almost 2,000 people, but we really value each other and our own development and our collaboration, and it makes diversity fit right into our strategy and our activities, and we enjoy learning and understanding everyone's perspective. So I really appreciate that. We also have a tool that we use, a tool or a set of values that we call the Huber Principles. And you can see it out there. You can Google it, and there's a lot of information that we've published about the Huber Principles. But the Huber Principles essentially is our guiding roadmap, if you will, for various activities that we do. So it's a four-piece approach of EH&S and sustainability. Obviously, we've worked on that forever. Ethical behavior, making sure that we're proud of everything that we do. Respect for people, and making sure that it's a work environment with honesty, respect, teamwork, and recognition. And then, of course, the area where I focus a lot is to make sure that we have a strong competitive advantage and customer relationship or intimacy along with operational excellence.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's such a large company. Does it feel like a family-owned company? I mean,
it feels like a family-owned company.
It does. It really does.
Huh? Yep. Yeah, it literally does. And I've been with some very large companies. Dow was quite large, over 60,000 people, and it did not feel that way there. It was everyone was a number, and it didn't have that same feel. But I would say at Huber, it feels like a family company every day.
Yeah. Interesting. So you touched briefly on sustainability. What role does sustainability play in your business?
Absolutely. Great. I like that a lot. In operational excellence, I've been working on sustainability since the beginning. And even all the way back to Dow, we worked very hard at energy efficiency and sustainability, and trying to reduce our footprint in many ways. The interesting part about that is that we were mostly working on that for a cost reduction perspective, right?
Right.
And like electricity was expensive, gas was expensive, and we could really gain and drive a competitive advantage by reducing our overall footprint and how much it costs to use and consume all this energy. Today, that has grown, and it's still a good cost reduction effort. There's no doubt about that, especially with, various areas of the world having sky high natural gas and petroleum prices. But it has now become much more of responsibility to reduce your footprint and work on sustainability. So we are actually very, very active in this field of sustainability. I sponsor the operations activities in sustainability, which ranges anywhere from normal, regular, day-to-day continuous improvement to improve motors and insulation and everything around that, to some innovation type activities to try to understand how we can change our footprint in a very large way, and make sure that we consume less carbon, and make sure that we're using electricity from the right sources, more sustainable sources. So yeah, sustainability has become a very large part of our world, and very, very much so in the world of operational excellence.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do agree with your point that the chemical industry has been very focused on sustainability, but not necessarily for the purpose of sustainability, but it started with, as you say, energy efficiency.
That's right.
Reduce footprint, the whole circularity that's already inherent in the industry, right? Because what could otherwise be a waste stream instead becomes, how can we turn this into something else, another product, a heat source, a fuel source, et cetera. So,
that's right.
One of the things I think across the industry, and the industry is getting better. And I talk with and work with clients on this in terms of just telling the sustainability story better, right?
Yeah.
So I think in many ways we've kind of said, well, of course people would understand that we're doing this. But, the reality is the general public does not understand.
Not always. No, they don't get to see all the inner workings and things like that.
They don't. And so if we're not understanding it and managing our information and telling our sustainability story, as well as continuing to work on it, it's just an opportunity for us to continue focusing in this area. And I think you're right. And this is kind of a theme that I've heard from a lot of folks on the podcast and elsewhere, that sustainability has always been part of our business.
Yes.
From a energy efficiency, a resource efficiency perspective.
Waste reduction. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And now we're just really turning it and saying, hey, we do this and it's for other reasons as well. It's the bigger picture. Yeah.
That's right.
Good.
Yeah.
So John, as we enter into 2023, it's going to be an interesting year, right? So we're seeing high inflation, a potential recession, which I think everybody keeps debating what it is and what it isn't, and we'll leave that debate elsewhere. But I know as we enter these environments, it typically drives companies to be much more focused on cost controls and other things that frankly are right in your sweet spot in terms of operational excellence.
Yeah.
What are your priorities? So when you look at 2023, what are your priorities and Huber's priorities as we go into the year?
There's no doubt that, whether it's a recession or some other economic slowdown, hard to predict and no one can predict it, but certainly a large part of the world is anticipating some form of a bit of a storm out in front of us.
Right.
So with all that in mind, it's very common in operational excellence to start to shift your strategy or your focus areas away from maybe additional capacity and move on to cost reduction, pure cost reduction, and trying to understand what that could be. Of course, we're experiencing, as everyone is, amazing levels of inflation. So cost reduction is a huge piece of the puzzle simply because our costs are changing on a daily basis. So we definitely, as we go into the future, have a stronger emphasis in that area. As any company would, and especially throughout the chemical industry, that's a very big part of it. Sustainability is also a huge piece of the puzzle, and that is connected to the cost reductions because we're finding our energy sources are going up in price. We want to have a smaller footprint, and for all the reasons possible, we want to make sure that we're working on that. The other piece I think that is a part of operational excellence that is a huge priority for the future, and that is further use of digitization and making sure that we're using the right kind of tools and technologies in the best way we can. And it can range anywhere from massive data crunching and analysis to simple things like on the shop floor and using your iPhone or iPad or other tools to enter a work order or to log the history of a pump or a compressor or anything like that, to take pictures of it and make sure that we log what the history looks like and everything around that we're using tools like that in every possible way, and I see that in a very strong way for our future. It could evolve into better use of wearables and other connections as the folks out on the shop floor are trying to read procedures or look up some kind of information about the product or the pump or the mixing system or whatever it may be. So that digitization part is a big piece of our future without any doubt. And then finally, I would say in the innovation area, the part that I think, at least for myself, that I'm learning about the most is the need for a very strong customer connection in the world of innovation, and really understanding what is it that they want, and not down to the individual product that they want, but what kind of properties are they looking for, and what kind of attributes are they looking for from the customer experience to the product that they consume to the way that we ship it to them and how they receive it. Yeah.
Interesting. Great stuff. John, thank you for joining us today on the Chemical Show. I've really enjoyed learning more about you and your experience in Huber and how you guys are tackling today's challenges.
Fantastic. It's been great to join, and appreciate the time.
Absolutely. And thanks everyone for listening. We will be back again next week with another episode. Cheers.
We've come to the end of today's podcast. We hope you enjoyed your time with us and want to learn more. Simply visit thechemicalshow.com for additional information and helpful resources. Join us again next time here on The Chemical Show with Victoria Meyer.